and welcome to Friends and Neighbors once again.
Yes.
Aren't we glad to be here?
We're so happy to be here. And you know what I'm so happy about? That I'm here with you. I really am. It's always so much fun to be on the set with you.
Yes,
you make me laugh.
And
you're such a good encourager as well. But you know what's so cool is that we also get to meet a lot of these wonderful people.
Oh, yes, we do.
And we get to invite them via Zoom. Zoom
by Zoom. Isn't that awesome? But you know what? It's funny, isn't it? In life, we talk about love, but do we really know love? What love is? Have we ever truly lived it out the way Jesus lived love out?
We have our conception, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's such a misconception of what love is. If you do this, then they must love. Well, she is part of my family, so you don't have to like her.
Yeah, you have to love her. Yeah.
You hear all of these things. But yes, what is love?
Well, that's what Kim Sorrelle is going to tell us. She has a book, Love Is, and it's a year-long experiment of living out 1 Corinthians 13, all about love. Okay, Miss Kim, tell us a little bit about love and how all of this got started.
Well, it's interesting, like you were saying, I mean, it's so true. To learn about love, it's not like you go to the bookstore and you buy a manual on love, or there's a Love for Dummies, right? So we learn about love.
Yeah.
We learn about it from our parents or from whoever around us. And not everything we learn about love is true. Not everything is right. And not everything done in the name of love is really love. And so I was diagnosed with breast cancer a few years ago. And 4 months later, my husband was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And he passed away 6 weeks later. And it just made me question the reality of love, or what love really is, because God is love, right? John says God is love.
Yes.
Not that God loves, but God is love. So am I being love? Like, we should be able to be love to each other. But what does that even mean? So I run a nonprofit organization. So I was working in Haiti during the time I decided I was going to figure this thing out for the rest of the world. And so I used the 2,000-year-old poem, you know, the love chapter. Love is patient, love is kind, does not envy, does not boast. One word at a time. I decided to take one word at a time, one word a month, and figure out what is love that is patient, what is love that is kind. And there are 14 words. So the math didn't quite work out with trying to do it in a year. So it took me a little bit longer than a year. And what I found out, though, really rocked my world. Like, the things I found out about love, I had never been taught about love before.
Well, what was your biggest lesson that you had to learn, I guess, on this year experiment? Was there any one big, huge thing that said, whew, there it is, Kim, there's love?
I'll tell you, every month there was a big, huge thing that went, whoop, here it is, Jim. So I started out the very first month, love is patient. So I just looked for it everywhere. I just repeated it to myself all the time. Love is patient, love is patient. Where is it? Where is it? And you know what I figured out is that love that is patient, I believe you're supposed to love everybody. And so that means the person at the grocery store, that means I love you guys. That means we love each other, right? We're supposed to love everybody.
Right.
And so if we love people, patience is one thing. We think we know what that is. You're not honking your horn if you're stuck in traffic. You're not stomping your foot because you're ready to go and he's not ready to go, right?
Yeah.
But love that is patient is different than that. Love that is patient would say that this moment, right here, right now, is the most important moment of your life. What's in the past is in the past. What's in the future is yet to come. And it's so easy to be distracted away from this moment and lose the moment. Like, here we are, right here, right now. But I could be thinking about a meeting I have later, or stopping to buy milk on the way home from the grocery store. It's so easy to be distracted because we're all so busy. But to truly focus and be present in the moment and give your all, everything you have, everything you are right now, to the person that you're with, That is love that is patient.
Wow.
Wow, because you know what? That seems to be a hard one for Christian people,
Well, I think
even,
especially
patient.
in our culture in itself.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to, it's instantaneous. Oh, did that one, well, let's go to the next thing. Okay, well, but to really be present and get to know the love that is in the room or in the Zoom,
Well, because we're always
Yeah.
busy.
Yeah.
This culture
She didn't get my joke, but thank you for,
is
did you get my joke?
I thought it was funny.
I did. In a way, I did. But it's off the charts. And you think when you get older, by then you'll know patience.
Yes.
But it's still, we're in a warfare, don't you think, Kim? To get the fruit of the Spirit, which one of them is having patience.
Yes.
But I'm glad you addressed that, because God knows, I'm talking to the choir, I need it myself, and I have to work on that. But in your journey on this 1 year, did you have to separate yourself from family, friends? How did you do this experiment all by yourself?
Well, I run a nonprofit organization, and I do a lot of work in Haiti. And so I happened to be in Haiti most of that year, most of the time that I was working on this whole love thing and figuring it out. And so I start out each chapter with what I think it's going to be. What is love that is patient? What I think it means. And then I finish each chapter with the story of whatever it is that happened in Haiti that brings me to the realization of what it really is. And so I'll tell you, I went through some crazy moments. I was chased by a motorcycle gang.
Oh my goodness.
I slept outside with snakes and tarantulas and chupacabras or whatever it is that is lurking in the bushes in Haiti. I got lost on a mile-high mountain in the dark. Crazy things happened. And every month, it took me until the very end of the month when God would say, okay, Kim, finally, will you please open your mind and realize what the answer to this question is? And then finally I would get it. Something would happen and a light bulb would go off and I go, that's what love that is kind is. That's what it is.
Yeah. Well, how did though others, you know what I'm saying? How did others help you write this book, get through this experiment? What did they do personally for you to see love for you to recognize love in them?
Well, I'll tell you, every word was a different story. Like I can give you an example. Love that is kind. So very second one, love that is kind. So when I was working on that month, I went to a place that I love to go. It's the Home for Sick Children, run by Mother Teresa's Order, the Sisters of Charity. It's in Port-au-Prince, right in the city. And I love to go where the babies are. So they've got a whole big room full of cribs and where the little ones are. And I love to just hone in on one and hold them all day and feed them and help change diapers and whatever. And so I went down to where the babies were and I saw this beautiful, brand new little baby. And you don't see brand new babies that often there, but so young, just laying in this pink sleeper, this beautiful little baby. And so I went over there and I found out slowly the story of what was going on with this precious, precious little baby. So this baby in the pink sleeper was Christopher. And I looked around and there was a woman standing at the end of the crib. And I found out that was Natalie, that was Christopher's grandma. And Natalie's only daughter is Christopher's mom. And she died shortly after giving birth on their one-room dirt floor house. Oh. And so Natalie had Christopher and lost her poor daughter. And Christopher was not keeping milk down. And she thought, well, it's because it's not his mother's milk, and tried for a while. And it was getting worse. Things were getting worse. And so she walked for miles to bring Christopher to this place to try to get him help. And Christopher had oxygen going in his tiny little nostrils, and he had an IV tube. And I reached down and held his hand. And I think Natalie was afraid to hold him because of all the tubes, but eventually she did. And, even though there's a language barrier, we bonded that day, Natalie and I. I'm a grandma, I'm a mom. And so I was feeling her pain. And And we just kind of shared Christopher that day. And we knew that there was something wrong, obviously, with him. And the best they could figure out is he must have some sort of an obstruction. In the US, that would be handled right in the hospital surgery and no big deal. But we're in Port-au-Prince, where there's few doctors, fewer hospitals. It's crazy there. But we did find a doctor who said that bring him in and do surgery, but it was a ways away. And so we knew that he needed to be transported. Well, at one point in time during the day, as we're trying to figure things out, Christopher stopped breathing. Oh. And we stopped breathing. And we looked around and scurried, and there was a kink in the line. Oh. And as soon as we unkinked his oxygen line, he started breathing again.
Oh, wow.
So we knew that we couldn't take him without oxygen. He would not survive without oxygen.
Right.
But he also was not going to survive without surgery. So I called everyone I knew in Port-au-Prince, and I know a lot of people there, but I called everyone I knew to try to find a portable oxygen tank. There are 2 million people in the city. All we needed was one portable oxygen tank. And my friends called all over. Some people went out to look for one, but nobody could find one. Not one portable oxygen tank in a city of 2 million people. So then poor Natalie had to make the choice. Does she move Christopher to the hospital and take a chance of losing him on the way with no oxygen, or losing him because he's not going to survive without surgery? So the only choice really was to try for the surgery. So they pulled a van up to the closest store and they kept the engine running. And in just this flurry of white habits, one of the sisters picked up Christopher, the other one took his oxygen off, grabbed his IV bag, and they ran for the door to get in the van. And they just ran away. And I looked over and Natalie was standing next to me. And I'm like, Natalie, go, go, go. And she pointed down at her feet, and she was barefoot. And she knew that they would not let her in the hospital with bare feet. And so I took off my sandals and I put them in one of her hands and I grabbed her by the arm and I ran out the door, and she hopped in the van just as it was pulling away.
Awesome.
And then it dawned on me, that love that is kind. So I gave her my sandals. Anybody, you guys would have given your sandals. Anybody would have done that. But I knew I would never get them back again. I had no expectations of getting anything in return, which that is love that is kind. Is zero expectations of getting anything in return. I'll never see Natalie again. I knew that I wouldn't. I never thought for a second about getting anything in return. But how often have I said, or anybody else said, oh my gosh, they didn't even say thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Or, well, I went to their daughter's graduation party. Where are they at mine? Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But the minute you expect something in return for something that you do, it's no longer love that is kind. That's not love. Love doesn't have expectation. Love just loves. Love does kind things because it loves. That's it. It's that simple.
Amen.
And when you have no expectations, there's such freedom in that, to be able to just give and not feel like, oh my gosh, if they give, they're going to feel like they have to give me back. No,
Amen.
You don't have to do anything in return.
Amen.
Just live and give. Just love people with zero expectations, right, of anything in return. But the biggest lesson I had that day was not that I gave Natalie my sandals. I would do it again in a heartbeat. I would give her my sandals. I'd go barefoot for the rest of my life if it meant Natalie could be with Christopher. But what Natalie gave me was so much greater, with no expectations of getting anything, but she shared that precious baby with me for the entire day. The day with her grandson, I will never forget her generosity, the kindness that she showed me, the bond that we made that day, the way she shared that precious baby with me. So that is love that is kind. No expectation love.
I love hearing that about the no expectation and practicing that. And how does that roll into the, envy and jealousy side of love? I mean, love doesn't have that. Love is not envious, it says. So how
it's not
did you,
puffed up.
Yep. So how did you practice that and really learn? Because that can be really hard when you start envying people and being jealous of something. It's fleshly, right?
Yeah, and so many people are. Yeah.
Right. Oh, and it is so easy to do, right? You know, I think sometimes we as women might even have more of a problem with that, you know, because we see a
Yeah.
beautiful woman, a great body, and we go, oh my gosh, Lord Jesus, you know,
Yeah.
where's my great body? Or, you know,
Yeah.
whatever it happens to be. Where's my fast metabolism? Whatever. But so it can be easy to do that. And there's a certain amount of keeping up with the Joneses.
Right.
But with love, you
Yeah.
just love the Joneses. Instead of being
Yes.
jealous or envious, you're happy for people for what they have.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah.
Good for them
Well,
that they have what they have, and just be happy for them. And then you don't think of it as, well, they have it, so I can't have it. No, there's plenty of love to go around. There's plenty of everything to go around,
but
right?
but you know, Kim, the way Jesus loved, and the way the scriptures in the Word of God tells us about love, is to be like Jesus. Well, what did Jesus say? Love your enemies. Pray for those that despitefully use you. Do good to them that hate you. All these things that is the very opposite of what the world says. The world says get even. The world says hold them accountable. The world says don't forgive them. They've done you this way. You hold them accountable. You know, and you see that his love is so much better. It's so much greater. If you can love your enemies, love those that despitefully use you and all those things, then I think that, like you're saying, you have genuine love, not just to make believe, not just, oh, well, I'm this and I'm a sweet person and I do that. No, you truly love from your heart the way Jesus loved us. And Jesus, did he ever expect anything back? I don't think so. He freely gave. And I think that's what your book is about, and about learning what love is.
Yep, and I think,
Yes.
you know, we've lost
A lot of
Kim.
that.
No, but we've lost Kim on Zoom, I think.
Oh, no.
But you know what? Kim does point to what truly it means to have that genuine
love, yes.
And I hate that we've lost her, but I know that she was in the middle of the Caribbean.
Yes, she's on a cruise.
So I can totally understand that. But, you know, going back to that love is statement, you know, when we're talking about jealousy and envy,
Yes.
I love what she said. She said, you celebrate that person. You say, good for you.
You're happy for that
You're
person.
happy for that person.
Yes.
Because then what you're doing is you're removing that feeling of guilt, that feeling of not being
Yes.
as, not having
Right.
what,
You know, so many people get into hate because they get covetousness.
Yes.
They start coveting.
covetous. Yes.
And they question God, and then they get mad at God because, well, you did this for them and you didn't do that for me. Well, why has this person got this and I don't have that? And then you start questioning, and then that leads to more and more sin in your life as far as not liking God, not liking his plan for you, not doing what he said, when if you would just follow the manual, you'll be so much happier and better, and you'll know what love is.
It's hard to follow the manual. I mean, I
Yes.
remember, it's a journey. I
Yes,
remember
it is.
in my early, mid, possibly 20s, I'm not going to say how old I was, but when I was in my 20s, and I was very jealous and envious because I was like, you know what? I deserve to have this particular part.
Yeah.
And I can really sing that song much better than so-and-so.
Yeah.
I mean, like, these thoughts were coming in. But I will tell you, when I started praying, and this was the aha moment that God gave me,
Yes.
when I started praying and saying, you know what, God, I am so jealous of this person because I know I can sing it better,
Right.
and I know I can give you glory. In that quiet spot, I remember God saying to me, this has nothing to do with her. This has everything to do that I have appointed the song for her, for my glory. And when I heard that audible voice say to me, so you're really not jealous of her, you're jealous of my appointment to her that I didn't appoint you yet, sweet Sandra.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, when I heard that, I was like, Lord, forgive
Isn't
me.
that wonderful?
And then I started celebrating my friends. I started celebrating what God has done for them, because truly that is the love of God.
What did Jesus say to Peter? He said, because he was saying, well, John's going to do this, John that, and Peter didn't like it. And Jesus said, hey, what's that got to do with you?
What's
that got to do with you? I have a whole different plan for you, Peter, than I do John.
Exactly.
And that's the way you've got to look at this thing.
So you got to take
God's
those
got a plan
feelings,
for you and love for you.
Yes, those feelings of envy, jealousy, impatient, being unkind. Grab a hold of it. Give
the
them
fruit
to
of the
Lord
Spirit,
and see how God shows you His love. I
Amen.
cannot believe we have to go to break, and without the guest, I hate that, Kim.
I know.
But I know you're having fun in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, come back.
Yeah, we'll be
see
right
you
back
after this commercial break.
Maybe she'll be back with us.
Maybe she will be. I don't know. You'll have to come back and see.
Yes. Miss Kim, where are you?
I know.
Ahoy.
I know. I'm so excited.
Well, guess what? We're still here, even though we lost our guest on Zoom, Miss Kim Sorrelle, who wrote the book Love Is. She's out in the Caribbean, and sometimes with Zoom you have some technical difficulties. That's why I don't care for Zoom very much.
But I do love the fact that we can talk to
people all over the world.
Absolutely, I do.
Yeah.
And I'm so sad because I was really excited to talk to her about the experiment, but I'm going to start reading her book even more now that.
Well, all right. Well, that's so nice of you, Miss Sandra Onal. You can come back and you'll love me even more. Now you like that?
I'm going to be patient. I'm going to hold my tongue.
Yes.
And I'll be patient.
Well, but you know, truly, in her book, it is about learning to love like Jesus.
Yes.
And to do the things, to love like He did, unconditionally, you know, without judging. And aren't we so bad at that?
Well, and sometimes when we're young, love is role model to us, right?
Yeah.
And we are a broken people. You know, we are not Jesus, we're not God.
Right.
But we really need to try to model true love. Being present. I think what really got me in the top half of the interview is when she said, just being present and giving that person your undivided attention. Because in my mind's always going the next thing. It's like my mommy list. I've got this, I got this, I got that. Let's look at the time.
Yeah.
But you're missing out on God's best and God's true love when you do that. So I'm going to really try to look into that book and see the nuggets of wisdom that she's put in there and try to utilize it. This is why I love the show so much, because I do get so much out of it. But even though you may not get my jokes, you know.
But you know what struck me about this book and about her?
You're moving on again. You're like, I'm not going to get your jokes, and I'm moving on.
This is it. Listen, her husband, she was diagnosed with cancer.
Yep.
Her husband was diagnosed with cancer and died 6 weeks later. She didn't gripe and complain. She didn't get mad at God. She just decided, what is love? I want to know this Jesus love. I want to know and experience what He did, how He did it, how I can incorporate it in my life, and maybe write a book to help others to know, even through hard times, bad times, which we all go through, right? We all go through it. But God's there. God is love.
And the fact that
she wanted people to know it and to experience, because listen, if your husband dies in 6 weeks
I can't.
and you've got cancer, a lot of people say, bye-bye,
well,
I'm
that's
out.
the whole thing, is instead of running away from God,
That's right.
she ran right into him to say, teach me. Because I would tell you, with all the emotions, I would be very angry. And I think there is a chapter in her book that says love is slow to anger.
Yeah.
So I was really looking forward to talking to her about that. Because, you know, life can get really hard. And
or I'll
you
say.
can really get angry. You can get upset. And that's when it causes you to sin.
That's right.
We are a broken people. We are doing our best to be the best God
that we can be.
that we can be.
Yeah. It's not easy.
It's not.
He said, don't let the sun go down on your anger.
Right.
Gosh, how hard is that when someone has been so ugly to
And
you?
the Bible
but
says,
the Bible is very opposite.
don't let it cause you to sin. Don't
Yeah.
let your anger cause you to sin. So that's my thing that I've gotten out of it. My takeaway is love is patient, kind, not envious.
Self-control.
Self-control. And
Thankful.
that's when you're angry and you're upset and you're jealous and you're hurt, pause.
Pause.
Seek the Lord. Press that pause
Think
button.
about Jesus.
Yes. How would he respond?
And truthfully, out there, that's why we have these shows, is maybe to help you in your journey, as because the journey can get long and can get tough. But Jesus said, I'll never leave you nor forsake you. I'll be with you the whole time. Look unto Jesus. He's the author and the finisher of our faith. And Sandra, I think, was a great show. We're sorry we lost Kim.
Go
but we're
find
glad
her,
you're
though. Look
with
her
us.
up at her website.
Yes.
And look her up on
And her
social
book.
media. She is there.
You'll love it. Thank you. God bless. We hope to see you again here on Friends and Neighbors.